Know what? Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to join you here today virtually for another edition of the Diaspora Transition. My name is Aisha Addo, and I will be your host for today. Today, we have the privilege of speaking to some amazing folks that have done the transition to Ghana currently. And we're really going to get deep and have really amazing conversations with them. But then we're going to be asking them some of the questions that you've been dying to know if you are someone that is interested in the transition. So again, my name is Aisha Addo. I am currently in between the transition. So hopefully today's conversation would give me the final push that I need to finally make the move. We have some, again, like I mentioned, we have some amazing guests. So we're going to bring them up for them to share a little bit about themselves. Our very first guest today is Miss Joanna Steele. So Joanna is a digital marketing and e-commerce strategy consultant and a trainer. She has almost 15 years of experience helping multi-million pound UK brands like Sainsbury, Argos, Mother Care, and London 2012 Olympics to create award-winning creative campaigns and to build rich content digital experience. She's also the co-founder and CEO of Dimax, a digital consultancy that unifies insights-driven planning, creativity, and technology to help businesses in Central and West Africa with their digital strategies to drive growth. That is quite an amazing resume, and I am so excited to hear more about your story. Welcome to the Diaspora Transition, Joanna.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me, Aisha.
Awesome. So before we actually get started on the panel, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Miss Joanna Steele, aside from all the amazing things that I just read in your bio?
Gosh, I'll be as quick as possible. So yeah, I've been working in digital for 15 years, born and bred in London, UK. I first came to Ghana in 2019 as part of the year of return. At the time, I was on a sabbatical, so I was traveling South America, Southeast Asia, and then I ended up in Ghana. Spent about 3 weeks in Ghana, did the party thing, as well as sort of went to the countryside, traveled around, and met a few people and realized that there was a lot going on in the tech space in the country. Prior to that, I'd done a bit of consultancy on the continent before, but Ghana was the first time I was in Ghana in 2019. I came back, I handed in my notice at work, and then I went back to Ghana in March to further explore. I did so on a trade mission organized by Ghanaian Londoners. And then COVID hit, as we know, came back to the UK. But in that time, sort of through my sort of visit in March, I'd really created and built some relationships. So I maintained them sort of virtually over sort of a 6 to 9 month period, and then came back to Ghana in November last year and have been here ever since. And yeah, I've partnered with an organization here and delivering digital marketing services for a number of Ghanaian clients. So it's sort of, that's it in a nutshell, really.
Wow, I'm like listening to your story and you're just like, I came, I saw, I conquered, and boom, I'm here.
I'm here.
That is such an amazing story and an amazing experience. So I actually have a question, because you did mention that you actually visited other countries before you came to Ghana. So what was the thing that made you choose Ghana among all these other countries that you had visited during your sabbatical?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. I think for me, it sounds a bit cliche, but Ghana felt like home. So I had very similar experiences in Ghana as I did in London. So whether it's, you know, restaurants, bars, sort of culture, museums, galleries, as well as the sort of countryside, as if you go further out of Accra. So I felt there was a sort of real mix. A bit like sort of London, sort of metropolitan kind of city. And as well, sort of from my kind of area of expertise, is sort of digital. Across the continent, we're seeing, increases in internet connectivity, mobile adoption. And so, the continent is where it's at when it comes to sort of digital and technology. So it made sense to kind of at least sort of start in Ghana. It's only a 6-hour flight from the UK. It's English speaking as well. And yeah, kind of those were kind of the pointers, I suppose, the kind of key things that attracted me and have kind of been integral to me still being here.
Awesome. That's really amazing. I have one final question for you before I let you, before we start the actual panel. And that question is, what is one thing that you wish you knew about Ghana before moving here, before finally making the decision to move here? Or do you think that you knew everything that you needed to know?
Gosh, that's a good question. I still don't think I know everything. I still consider myself very, very early in this journey. What's one of the things I feel like I prepared enough. I don't want to sound boastful or anything, but I feel like there's nothing that's come to me as a huge surprise. I suppose, gosh, one thing I wish I knew. Probably, this might sound a bit, the driving here is really, really bad. And people always talk about the traffic, but actually I have a problem with the driving here. So that's probably one of the things that I wish I wish I would have known.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much, Ms. Joanna. We cannot wait to actually have you engaged in the panel discussion later on. Thank you for sharing your transition story and for, again, picking Ghana as one of the first places for you to explore your journey. We're going to have you come back on later on during the panel, but we're so happy to have you here and so happy to keep having this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amazing. That was quite a story. Again, this is going to be, you're going to be hearing a lot of aha moments for me throughout the entire conversation, because it is always so amazing to speak to folks that actually end up taking the plunge and moving back home. Next up, we have Miss Yasmin Efrifa, who was born in the UK. She graduated from University of Bradford with an MEng in chemical engineering. Shortly after, she worked as a pension analyst with one of the leading investment management firms, Fidelity Investments. She then worked for AIG for 3 years as a customer service representative and an underwriter. Yasmin has a keen start to her entrepreneurial journey and attended the TDT 2019. Having acquired knowledge and insight to start life as an entrepreneur, she relocated to Ghana in August of 2019. Hello, Yasmin, and welcome to the Diaspora Transition.
Thank you.
Wow, so that's quite a bio you have here. Please tell us what made you decide to move to Ghana. But before that, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and all the things that all the things about you that we didn't necessarily hear in your bio.
Right. So I'm Yasmin. I moved to Ghana in August 2019. What pushed me, well, talk a bit about myself. So my experience, I did chemical engineering. And then afterwards, I actually realized that I wasn't passionate about it. So I wanted to go into the finance. So I went into finance for a bit, did that, and then eventually decided to move to Ghana. The move for me was quite straightforward, I should say. I kind of made up my mind when I went for TDT 2019. I was just sat there listening to the people talk about how they had moved down and how they had made it work. And I was like, these people are literally like me. They're probably a bit older, probably a bit younger than me, and they've made it. So what's stopping me from going out there to make it? And for me, Ghana's always been home. Again, like Joanna said, it's a bit cliche, but it's always been home. And I've been lucky that even though I was born there, I also lived in Ghana for a bit and I schooled here. So it always felt like home, and I felt like I needed to come back and have that impact here as well. So yeah, it was pretty easy to decide, I think.
Wow, that's actually quite of a story in the sense of like, the diaspora transition having a big role to play in you finally making the decision that I want to move back. But there's something that you mentioned, which is that you actually studied chemical engineering, and then you moved into finance. So when you were coming to Ghana, or you made the decision to move to Ghana, what was that? What was your plan? What plan did you have in terms of like, I'm going to move? Did you plan on continuing with chemical engineering, or thinking I'm going to go into finance, or did you end up starting something totally new as a result of your transition?
Sure. So I actually applied for jobs whilst I was out there, and I got a good offer with the top bank. But then when I moved, I had in mind I was going to work with them. But then when I got back, communication wasn't great between me and them, and they kept prolonging everything. So as I was coming down, I had a backup plan. If it didn't go according to how I thought it should go, I'll set up something. So I was very passionate about cleaning and cooking. And my husband was like, why don't you start a cleaning company whilst you're waiting to hear from the bank to see what's happening? So I just kind of went with what I really loved. I didn't want to just start something just for money. I wanted to do something I actually enjoyed doing. And I just started a cleaning company, and that was it.
Wow. Did the bank ever get back to you?
Oh God, they get back, then they're like, hold on. So eventually I had to go back and say that I wasn't up for the offer anymore. But they didn't actually get back to say you've got a job or not. There was just a lot of back and forth in between them and myself.
Wow, that is so you took a big chance, and I'm so happy that I actually get to talk to you about this, because you took an amazing chance on yourself and decided, listen, this is what I want to do and I'm going after it. So for those that are listening right now that might want to, move back, but again, one, maybe they've lined up an opportunity and they've not necessarily been hearing back from the people. What is that one thing that you would tell them? Is it make sure that you have a backup plan, or still, go after your heart and go after the things that you want?
I say, what's the worst that could happen? If you're
Mm.
lucky to be a citizen and you can always go back, if you make that move here and it doesn't work, what's the worst that could happen? You just go back, take your passport, go back and start again. So for me, I didn't want to live there and be thinking, what if I had moved? What if I had done it? I didn't want to have the what if. So for me, I would say you need to come down, have a backup plan, but then I feel like if you're actually out there, you don't realize what you can do till you get down here. So it's best to get down, have a look, look around and see what you can do. And if it's not working out for you, the worst thing that can happen is for you to pick up your passport and go back. And that to me is not the worst thing ever. So I would just say come and you'll be fine.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that and for being so transparent with us. We'll definitely love to hear more about your cleaning company during the panel discussion. But Yasmin, it's been such an honor speaking with you, and thank you for making that decision to, it's
Thank you.
I can imagine that it wasn't an easy decision, but thank you for sticking with it as well. Thank you so much, Yasmin.
Thank you.
Awesome. Wow, folks, we have some really, really amazing folks that have, done the transition. And major shout outs to the Diaspora Transition for being a part of Yasmin's story and for, giving her that final push that she needed. We have two more amazing guests that we're going to be speaking to today. So I cannot wait for you to hear from them. Actually, this one is really dear to my heart because Hilda is from Canada and I happen to be from Canada. So it's really amazing to have Canada representing, Toronto representing all the way. So next up, we have Miss Hilda Boitang, who is currently the managing director of Versace Collection in Ghana. Hilda attended the 2019 edition of the Diaspora Transition as part of the many who relocated following the event. Hello, Hilda. Nice to meet you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Yes, welcome to the digital version of the Diaspora Transition 2021. I was saying earlier that you're among the few people that I know that are from Canada that has done the move. So major shout out to you. We got to represent Canada in the house.
Definitely.
So for those that do not know who you are, please tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Miss Hilda Boitang and what made you make the move to Ghana and why Ghana?
Okay, so of course I'm a Canadian-born citizen of Ghanaian descent. I've had about 12 years retail experience, and I worked for a prominent brand, Louis Vuitton, for about 5 years. But I've worked for many brands in the past as well. So I worked for Louis Vuitton in Toronto, and I transferred over to Louis Vuitton UK, is where I have ties with GUBA Careers. So I worked as one of the management in Louis Vuitton Harrods for 2 years on a 2-year visa. But I've had ties with Ghana. I've been coming to Ghana as an adult since 2015. And as Joanna said, it's just more or less, enjoyment and having a good time. But my parents actually already made the transition. They sort of boomeranged back to Ghana. So they've been settling in Ghana for about 9 years. They retired. And so I will come and pay them a visit and see how they're doing, of course. And so in my 5 years of coming to Ghana on holidays, I made sure I made connections. And I had a friend, Viola Labby, who used to work here in, Viola.
Okay. Yes, shout out to Viola. Shout out to V.
From Toronto as well. And so we communicated closely when it came to opportunities here with luxury retail, because as you know, the market expanded when it came to luxury retail. And we're taking on more European brands, Western brands into Africa. And so there was opportunity for management careers. So I happened to do some group interviews with her when I was here in Ghana. And I always made sure I was networking while I was in Ghana, even though I was on holidays. I was going on radio shows and being guest host, guest co-host, and just making sure I'm connected in Ghana. So it's funny because my visa was over in London. I had a visa in London from 2018 through to the end of 2019. And it was just a coincidence. And I was just in Ghana at the right place at the right time. So I literally had moved out of UK. I was displaced. I was meant to go back to Louis Vuitton, Canada. And so I came to Ghana for a 9-week holiday because I was between countries. I thought I had the leverage to do that. And while I was in Ghana during that 9 weeks, my 8th week on my holiday is when I got the job offer. So yeah, big fluke. I mean, I literally had to go back to Canada, find a place, start all over again. And the fact that I had a job offer in the March, just before the global pandemic, it was really a miracle. So I've been here for a little bit over a year now, and it's been just amazing.
Wow. Talk about being at the right place at the right time. Listen, we love to hear it. So, you mentioned something which is very crucial that I think a lot of times, not a lot of people think about even when they are, vacationing in Ghana, and that is networks. So you said that while you were here, every time you visited Ghana on holidays, you made sure that you were networking, you were getting yourself out there. What was one of the challenges of networking in Ghana that you found? And because you shared being in the right place at the right time. I think that is so important. But then it's also because you had built that network that really allowed for you to be able to leverage that. So what are some of the challenges of networking, and what would be some of the tips that you give to folks that are thinking about transitioning, but they're not really sure? They come to Ghana and they love Ghana as a vacation spot, but then are not sure if they're going to love Ghana as a place to work and live. So what would be some of the things that you have found so far throughout your journey?
Well, yeah, I think just being daring and just sort of trusting your instinct. I mean, if you're able to come here and connect to the country, even on a holiday, as I mentioned, I mean, just taking it up a notch and just see if you can actually, build a career, be entrepreneurial, whatever you can do while you're here. I think the challenge more or less, I think what people are normally, what they're afraid of is job opportunity and having job security. And so a lot of us who come from the Western world, we're so used to having that, paycheck and that security and a 9 to 5. And coming to Ghana, the entrepreneurial vision is a bit intimidating. And so I think while you're here, try to, I want to say, maximize and try to find these salary paying jobs, asking people who have these salary paying jobs if entrepreneurship isn't your journey, And even if entrepreneurship is your journey, I mean, you have to, how do I put this? You have to know the steps. You have to know what it takes, right? Well, that's an another thread of a conversation. Yes, yes.
Wow. No, absolutely. I'd love, before we let you go, I'd actually love for you to touch a little bit on, the process for you in terms of like getting the job offer, securing the job, because you mentioned that you actually ended up having to go back to Canada, put things in order and all of that stuff. So what was that process like for you, as someone that got a job offer and relocated to Ghana?
Good. So the year prior, I had left my CV, my resume with the mall management. So if there was any opportunities. So like I said, like building that connection and networking and sort of keeping your feet planted. So I was already getting my CVs in the right places so that I can have those callbacks. I've already established those relationships, right? So when I come back, it was like my name was already known. There was already, relatability. And so that was an advantage for me. Yeah, and besides that, I think, what else? Because we kind of take the entrepreneurial route. I think when it comes to job security, like I said, even when it comes to salary paying jobs, like I said, people are really intimidated with that. People want USD pay, or they want their UK, their comfort salary. Just doing that right research, asking around, talking to expats, looking at options with online positions as well. I think people don't realize there's a big demographic of people who get great jobs online and can work remotely in Accra as well. So these sorts of things.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much for sharing. We're definitely looking forward to hearing more from you in the panel discussion, and really also just touching on a little bit of negotiation, because I definitely know that moving to Ghana requires some serious negotiation skills as well. So thank you so much, Hilda, for sharing, and we look forward to hearing more from you in the panel discussion.
Great. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Listen, folks, I hope you have been writing down some of these tips, because these are all the tips that you would need if you ever want to move to Ghana specifically, but then really to any other African country as well. Our final guest for today is Mr. Tim Swain, who is an internationally recognized poet, author, speaker, award-winning performer, and catalyst for social change. Tim has been captivating audiences for nearly 20 years, and over the past 15 years, he has headlined and been the keynote speaker at international venues in Mexico, Ghana, and the United States of America. Wow, we have someone that is in the arts that has done the transition. Thank you so very much, Tim, for joining the Diaspora Transition. We're so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me as well. I feel honored to be a part of this group and hearing from the lovely women that are very accomplished, very determined, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the insight that they will give as well. So I'm still learning. Very short background about myself. Born and raised in the United States. Not necessarily have a historical connection or lineage in Ghana, but my first trip was in 2007. Actually with a missions organization for 7 weeks, and it transformed my life. And when I went back to the United States, that cultural imprint had been, imprinted on my heart. And so Ghana never left me. Fast forward to, I think, around 2014, I was having a conversation with a friend, now the co-founder of my organization, Inidaso, and we were just talking about what we need to do to improve the status of Black men in America. And long story short, we said, hey, one of the transformative experiences in our lives has been us knowing, where we come from. So we started mobilizing people to go back and forth to Ghana. And so now we mobilize trips for men and women of all ages, particularly of African descent, to enhance their spiritual, cultural, professional identity. And so I'm the co-founder of that organization. I've been residing in Ghana permanently since December of 2019. And it's been a journey, but it's been a really phenomenal time. So that's the very short CNN version.
Amazing! Wow, that is amazing. That's actually quite amazing. So tell us a little bit about what your aha moment was like when you decided, I'm going to move to Ghana, because like you said, you came on an experience, you felt really drawn to Ghana, and I hear that a lot as well when I speak to folks. So for you, what was that aha moment? What was that thing that drew you to Ghana specifically?
That's a really good question. I think I think there were several kind of like micro moments. But if I would say there was a definitive moment, it occurred around 2014. This is the aftermath of a killing, unfortunately, of a black teenager by the name of Mike Brown by a white police officer. And I was marching in a city called Ferguson, Missouri, which is where most of this stuff took place. And I remember having this very, very, very transformative experience where I was marching with a civil rights organization. And when I was listening to sometimes the egregious things that they were saying towards us, you know, the faces in the audience and things like that, I had this experience. And then about 2 months later, I was doing preparation for one of our trips to Ghana. So, you know, within 2 months, I have this very kind of like juxtaposed experience of like being a black person that feels like a stain on the fabric of pure America. Then I come to Ghana and I'm just a human being. And so what happened was that was a very definitive moment. And every time I came back to Ghana subsequent to that, it was more and more difficult to keep living in the United States because I had experienced that freedom. So in 2017, I told my wife, I said, listen, I think our next step is moving to Ghana. And so my background is in higher education administration. So I worked in universities for a while. And so I quit my job, did a lot of planning first, but I quit my job. And it took us about 1.5 years to plan. And then we moved.
Wow. Wow. Well, welcome. And we're so happy that you moved. And, you know, you share the experiences that a lot of, you know, Black Americans, African Americans experience, you know, when they're in North America. And that is the constant experiences that we have to go through when we hear of, you know, Black bodies being, you know, killed in inhumane ways. So thank you so much for shedding light on that and having that as a connection, although unfortunate, it was still one of the things that pulled you in. I have a question for you in regards to the art. So you've been in Ghana now for about 1 year and some change. What has your experience been in the art? And in terms of like, because in your bio, it says that you're an author, you're a poet, you are very heavily engaged in the art as well as in higher education. So for you, when moving to Ghana, was your plan, was it part of your plan to explore what the art scene in Ghana was like, or was it more focused on still bridging, being the bridge between African Americans and, you know, Ghanaians, and like really curating those experiences?
Yeah, so actually, when I moved to Ghana, it was for three main purposes. Number one, I wanted to go back to school. And so I went to school here in Ghana to pursue my education in theology from an African perspective. The second thing was I really wanted to build up my organization in a way that was more meaningful and substantive. And the last thing was just because I needed to get away from the United States. And arts was a part of that process. But I came in 2019. And of course, this was right before coronavirus. So I didn't really get as much of an opportunity to really get engaged in some of the artistic scenes because of, you know, COVID. But now I'm actually starting to get, you know, engaged in some of the, you know, the artistic scene that's here. So I've yet to dive heavily into that, but it's on the list.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to hear that, because I definitely think that that is one of the spaces that needs to be innovated and more folks need to get engaged in. So I'm really happy to hear that. Looking forward to hearing more about you and your organization throughout the panel discussion. Tim, it's been so amazing having a conversation with you, and for, you know, thank you for sharing space with me, and for being so open and transparent about your journey and your relocation back to Ghana. I'm looking forward to having you on the panel soon.
Thank you.
Amazing. All right, folks. This has been so amazing. And now we are going to move on to the panel discussion, where we hear from all of our amazing speakers. So now what we're going to do is, sorry, I am reading as I'm having a conversation with you. So we are going to Awesome. So now we are going to bring in all of our amazing speakers for our panel discussion. But before I do that, Please make sure that you are following GUBA on all social media platforms. Make sure that you're following GUBA Careers, GUBA Enterprise, all of the GUBAs on social media. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and all of the social media channels. So what we're going to do now is we are going to have our panelists join us for the next half of our conversation. Amazing. Thank you all so much for joining us. I think we're missing one person. No, everyone is here. Awesome. This has been so amazing, and it's been so heartwarming hearing each and every one of you and your stories. So I have a question for all of you, which is essentially, this is going to be a blanket question. So we're going to start from Hilda to Tim to Joanna and to Yasmin. Each and every one of you have to answer this question. And the question is, how are you doing in Ghana? And I want you to be very honest as you can be. Like, this is the moment where you give us the raw of it all. So how are you really doing in Ghana? Hilda, over to you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it might sound cliche, but I mean, like I said, there's a comfort here. I have my parents here. I have routine, but there's this people that have relocated, like these people who are panelists. There's this comfort when you come to Ghana, you feel like you're at home, and it's like it's my safety haven. I mean, I have met so many new people who are well-traveled, who are interesting. Even the people I met who are local have been nothing but just, very positive, very kind. I mean, I don't feel displaced. I think Ghana has been a very great journey for me. Yes, definitely.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Tim, what about you?
As we say in Ghana, I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. But no, I mean, seriously, I mean, just to echo the sentiments, I would say if we want to keep it real, I think that it's not necessarily Ghana, but I realize that as a human being, we bring us into every environment that we go into. And although culturally and psychologically, the burden of being a Black person is non-existent in Ghana, I think that there are some normal challenges that a person watching that may be accustomed to westernized systems and structures, go through. Like, for example, like right now, to be perfectly honest, I'm really praying that my lights don't go off before this phone call ends. Even though I have a backup, I'm like, God, please just let the lights stay on until the call finishes. Then after that, I'm okay. So it's not like a stress-inducing thing, but it's like those little things that I'm just like, okay, let me make it through the call. Let's make it through the call. Let's make it through the call so the lights don't go off. But overall, I mean, I'm married and I have a son who's 5 years old. But we are really we're doing well. We really are doing well.
I'm so happy to hear that. I think we all were nodding to the light situation. Because we're like, yeah, we can. Oh, I'm there with you, sir. I'm definitely there with you. Thank you so much for sharing. Miss Joanna?
I can so relate to, well, we can all relate to the lights. My internet went off about 10 minutes ago and I was like frantically kind of panicking, trying to get it sorted. But in all honesty, for me, I think it's ups and downs. So my background is Jamaican, so I don't have any sort of direct lineage to Ghana as such. So I don't have family here. And so sort of missing kind of the home comforts of my family at times, particularly on a day like today, my birthday. However, I have been welcomed by so many people, those from the diaspora as well as locals, and really kind of made to feel at home, in all honesty. But yeah, I think like anything, it's sort of ups and downs. Some really productive days, some days, when it's a 24-hour power cut and everything goes wrong and it has a knock-on effect to your productivity and your day. So I think there are challenges like anywhere in the world. The challenges are just different, and it's just sort of getting used to that. I would say also probably a lack of systems and processes, but sometimes that can work in your favor. I feel sometimes in the UK, you know, there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy, and here that you can take a few shortcuts, which can be a blessing sometimes. But yeah, I think the challenges are there, but they're probably just different to what I'm used to in the UK.
Thank you so much for being transparent. And from all of us at the Diaspora Transition, we're wishing you a very happy birthday. May this new year come with lots and lots of love and blessings. Listen, everything that you're all saying, I'm like there with you, because I know the doomsaw issue is a real thing. Because Tim, just like you, that was my main thing. I'm like, Lord, please just let's just get through today, you know. So I'm really excited to hear that. So, you know, Joanna, you touched on something. Hilda, you touched on something earlier as well. And Tim, you touched on something which I don't think a lot of people talk about, which is the family, right? So for you, Hilda, your family had already transitioned here. The words you used, they had boomeranged back to Ghana. Tim, you came here with your wife and your son. And for you, Joanna, your family is not here with you right now. So how do you manage that aspect of your transition back? Because I think a lot of times, you know, we talk about the careers, we talk about the businesses, we talk about the entrepreneurship, but we don't talk about the family part, right? So for you, Tim, was it difficult in terms of, you know, convincing the people that you were with and your family specifically to say, okay, we're moving to Ghana? And for you, Hilda, was it like a difficult decision, or was it an easier decision because your family was already here? And for you, Joanna, how do you manage all of that? And even like making that decision to move, although your family is not here and you don't necessarily have a quote unquote direct lineage to Ghana or a direct connection to Ghana, as we would say. So we're going to start with Tim, and then we're going to go to Hilda, and then we're going to end with you, Joanna.
It wasn't very difficult because my son at the time he was 4. So, I mean, he didn't know what was going on. My wife lived in South Africa. My wife traveled around. And so she didn't really have a challenge with the transition prior to moving to Ghana. But since we're going to keep it real, it was very difficult for her once she actually transitioned to Ghana. And for a couple different reasons. You know, for a lot of us who come from the West, you know, we don't come to Ghana and start lower class. We move typically into a middle class type of environment. But when you come to Ghana, you don't really know the class and what may have you. And so the difficult part for her initially was, you know, she moved from a place of 7 years worth of friendships, 7 years worth of connection, 7 years of knowing what to do, who to call when this happens, that happens. And then she comes to Ghana and she's seen as, you know, the rich American, right? Who is coming from heaven. She doesn't have any problems at all. But, you know, it was very difficult because, you know, here's a basic example. Let's say I meet someone like you know, any one of you, you know, amazing women, and we're in the US, right? And I say, okay, hey, you know, let's go out for dinner. Now, dinner may cost maybe about $30-40, right? But in Ghana, let's say I want to go out to a certain place where dinner is like 50 cedis. The person I may have befriended may make, you know, 50 cedis a week. So by no means will they go out to dinner, but that's how we bond. That's how we create relationships. So I think the difficult part was after we got here, trying to learn the realities of how the society is set up, learning that we moved into a certain class, not to sound like I'm complaining, but how much that has an impact on developing relationships, where we do for our pastimes, how we spend money and things like that. And then we came during Corona time. And so it was very difficult to just go out and just meet people. But within like the past year, since 2020, I'll say the latter part of 2020 and now, things have changed tremendously. I mean, the last thing I'll say is even my son, I didn't think he would feel it as much, but like every week he was saying, I want to move back to Indianapolis. That's the city that we lived in. I mean, but because he had no friends, he wasn't going to school, so he's just around mommy and daddy all day long. But now, I mean, he's at school, he's coming home. Oh, daddy, I took fufu at school today. how are you, daddy? You know, so it's like, so now he's developing friendships. My wife is developing friendships. But at first it was really, really, really difficult. It was very difficult.
It's the transparency for me. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being honest about that. We don't hear a lot of those stories, so I'm happy that we get the opportunity to talk about this today. Hilda, what about you? Sorry, sis, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Great. So like I said, with my parents being here, there's been a lot of comfort. I have like a lot of support circles with my aunts and uncles in the city. My parents are my biggest fans, so they support me thoroughly. I'm very, very grateful to have that. When I made the decision to get the career here, they were concerned. Well, I've already came from UK, so they knew I was capable of moving from different nations and having international careers. But I guess they were afraid that I wasn't going to have the certain standard that I was used to. But I think adapting is a really big thing. It's like one of those things where you can move somewhere, but if you're not happy within, you'll never find happiness. And so if you carry that within you, you can really move in any part of the world. And so coming to Ghana, I know, as you guys know, there's a lot of classism. So I do work in Kempinski Hotel, which is a 5-star hotel, is where I'm located right now. And so with that association, my network became a lot of people of higher class, a lot of people who are prominent or important. And so I was kind of shifting between a lot of professional, very successful circles. And I'm very happy to have that network. But with that network, it comes with a lot of spend. And so I like to say my Accra is very tailored, because my Accra, in so many ways, is like I'm living in Toronto, I'm living in UK. And I know Joanna mentioned it earlier as well, with it kind of having this metropolitan feel. And I do feel that a lot in Ghana, but what I did not expect is how expensive it can become. Yes, and so I always tell people all the time, when you come to Ghana, just because you are in an African economy, don't assume that you won't feel those dollars going, right? It will go very rapidly. And so you have to be a bit smart when it comes to your spend, and understand, I guess that saying of cut your coat according to your size, right? Understand what you're getting into, what you want out of Accra, and really design your own routine and know what circles to shift into, that sort of thing.
Thank you for that. And thank you again for being transparent. And, hitting that Accra is expensive.
Very.
And this is actually something that I would definitely love for us to discuss later on as well. But thank you so very much for sharing that. And again, for being transparent about that. Joanna.
Yeah, so I think for me, because I travelled on my sabbatical for 6 months, I had just me in a backpack. And so that's not to say that I didn't miss my family, but, I got used to having minimal things, material things, and just being really comfortable with myself, and being confident to explore and learn alone. So I think that kind of set the tone for me. So kind of when I came to Ghana, it kind of, well, at the beginning kind of felt like, it was just my sabbatical continued. So yes, I do miss my family and my friends, but I feel like it has been for me really easy to meet people, particularly within the sort of UK diaspora. Everyone knows everyone. So, I might meet someone and then I know that they know the same person that I know. So it's actually really, really quite connected, and its own family in a way. So, I don't want to say I don't miss my family before I get phone calls or texts, but I feel like for the most part I'm not alone, and even if I am, I feel like my sort of sabbatical kind of prepared me for it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, like I can I think one thing that you mentioned that is really crucial is, and I think Hilda mentioned this as well, is like just being happy within yourself and, you know, like, again, like appreciating who you are and how you navigate the world. So thank you so very much for sharing. Miss Yasmin, so we're talking about, you know, moving our families along with us when we are transitioning. So if you are open to sharing how that experience was like for you, I know you mentioned earlier on that you moved here with your husband. So I wanted to know, how has that experience been like for him as someone that moved with you to Ghana?
So I actually met my husband in Ghana. So he actually lived here. When I came for enjoyment, that's how I met him here. So he already lived here. So I had to move down by myself. But my mom and my dad already moved to Ghana as well, same as Hilda. And my dad passed away, unfortunately, when I moved. But my mom is still down here and my brother's still up there. So I still have family both here and there. And having my mom and husband here and a couple of friends around has really helped me. So I wouldn't say I moved them along. I kind of, joined them already here. But it's been great having support system here, because there's been times that's been quite frustrating a little bit. And it's good to have familiar faces to, be there and tell it's going to be okay.
Yes. I think maybe we have to have a separate panel with you talking about finding love in Ghana for those that do not, so we will see you in chambers. We will see you in chambers. No, that is really amazing. And thank you all for your transparency, because I think, navigating Ghana or navigating Accra is very hard. And I actually I want to take the opportunity to talk about this. A lot of times when people are moving or thinking about transitioning, they always assume that Accra is Ghana. Accra is not Ghana. And I want to know what your experience with that has been. Has any of you gotten the opportunity to actually do some work outside of Accra, or like visit outside of Accra and see the differences in terms of like the way people live and like the lifestyle there? And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because, there are opportunities in other parts of Ghana, and I really want folks to be open to that and recognizing that there are opportunities outside. So what you experience when you come in December is not necessarily what you would experience when you live here every single day. And I think that's something that for a lot of folks that I interact with, like, we have that conversation all the time. So have any of you had that experience of working outside of Accra, and what was that experience like for you? If you haven't, that is absolutely fine. And if you are exploring that as well, I would definitely be interested to know. And if you haven't actually gotten the chance to explore other parts of Ghana, what made you decide to move to Accra specifically? Who wants to go first? I'm gonna make this a popcorn style.
I would say that for me, I actually live in the greater Accra area, but I live outside of Accra. I live in a place called Adenta, which is a little bit north of Accra. And so it's about 15 minutes in a car, no traffic, of course. And so my experience actually has been a little different, because this is the first time I've actually seen like restaurants in Accra, because most of the time I came, I was doing work in Cape Coast. So I actually didn't see like young millennials living a nice life. Most of the time I was, doing work in some small community where there's no water or blah, 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 blah. So when I first came here, I was actually in school. And so I was in school and I was working. And so I didn't really, there was a lot that I'm just now experiencing of Accra, even though I've been coming since 2007. But what I realized was, as you said, life is not just Accra because people feel that way. I actually have some friends that are in different places like Kumasi, that are in Cape Coast, and some people that are in like further, not further north, but like the eastern region where the mountains are, because they actually wanted to have a different lifestyle. They wanted to be in an area where they didn't want the hustle and bustle of Accra life. And so I know some people that live like that, and they're perfectly fine. For me, I chose to live in an area where I'm not directly in Accra, but I can access it, in 15 minutes, just in case I want to go to a nice spot and relax, But in my area, I can get, I'm going to say all, I get most of the stuff I need for living life on a daily basis. And I live in an area where most of the people where I directly live, I mean, we have we have people who speak Ga, we have Eve, so we have a lot of people in my area where I get a little taste of it's not really rural at all, but it's like, it's not the hustle and bustle of Accra. So I'm forced to integrate into the culture, you know, with certain things. Like if I don't speak to my neighbors immediately when I leave my house, I'm forced to like know people in a way that has been really good for me that I may not get depending on where I live in certain places of Accra. So, so I would say me living, and plus I don't have the high cost of what it's like to live in Accra. I'm living outside, so it's a little bit cheaper for me.
Yes, please preach on that one. Anyone else have anything else to add to that? Yep. Maybe. Sorry, Hilda, we can't hear you. If you can increase the volume a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great, good. So I happen to have the opportunity to work outside of Accra. I've mainly, because my position is stationed here, I've obviously done like this dispatches, deliveries outside of Accra. But when it comes to my background, I am of Ashanti descent. So I am from Kumasi. So I've had the advantage of being able to travel back home where my parents' hometown is. And when it comes to leisure, I mean, I've traveled all around Ghana. I think it's great because you're right. A lot of people do assume that Accra really is Ghana, but Ghana, the spectrum of Ghana is so beautiful and so vast, and it has so much to offer. I'm glad you asked me that question because it did challenge me on the inside of being able to expand my career ventures into more parts of Accra and being more accessible and be able to bring luxury elsewhere. But when it comes to leisure, like I've climbed like 6 mountains in this country. Like, you know, like there's so many things I could say when it comes to Ghana and beauty and traveling. I'm constantly going out of town to relax and zen and get myself back and grounded. So I think it's a good option to keep. Being able to expand my career outside of Accra, definitely. But when it comes to, I think what he mentioned in regards to residing in the city itself, I live by top of Achimota, which is still quite close. I think without traffic, I'm just about 20, 30 minutes in. But it's nice because it's residential and I can escape from all the hustle and bustle, all the noise. But then obviously going back into the city, it's like I have to be prepared for it and just embrace it, really. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm happy that, you know, the conversation is getting you to think outside of the box a little bit. I'm actually very interested to see how that turns out as well. Joanna or Yasmin, is there anything that you ladies would like to add to this?
Well, for me, sort of,
So Joanna, you can go ahead and then Yasmin will come back to you after Joanna. Can you hear us?
Okay.
So I work within Accra, and sort of a lot of my clients are tech businesses, tech startups. So they're in the city, but in terms of to explore as much as possible beyond Accra. Even when I sort of first came for the year of return, I was here for 3 weeks. And because I still had the travel bug, I made sure that I went to Kumasi for a week, stayed with a friend's family. I also went to the Volta region. Like Hilda, I wouldn't consider myself a mountain climber, but I did set my a task to climb the highest peak in every country that I visited. So I climbed Mount Afachado in the Volta region. And over Christmas, I went to Tamale and went to Mole National Park. So I am trying to see as much of the country as possible. But yeah, there's still a lot more to do.
Yes, I'm so happy to hear this, you know, and again, like, you know, everyone is sharing in the comments how they love how transparent you folks are being about your transition, because, and this is what makes GUBA and all the amazing things that GUBA does so amazing. So before we move on to the next question, for all those of you that are tuned in, I want to give you a little bit of information about GUBA Careers, which seeks to bridge the career and lifestyle gap between the members of the diaspora, Ghana, and Africa as a whole by bringing together resources and people from several disciplines to share their stories. GUBA Careers gives individuals who are interested in relocating to Africa the platform to identify how they can transition smoothly back home to impact and be impacted by this great developing nation. This is so amazing. I think we lost Yasmin again. But while we wait for Yasmin to rejoin us, there she is. Amazing. Oh, welcome back, Yasmin. So please go ahead and share what your
Thank
experience
you.
has been inside and outside of Accra.
Okay, so I've been lucky to work outside Accra due to the nature of my job, and it's quite interesting when you go to different places what you can learn from people. It's much more relaxing, I would say, when you go outside Accra. But like, it's not much of that Accra hustle and bustle, and it's more refreshing when you go outside. So I when I do get a chance to work outside, I take it, and I learn a lot because constantly there's different things you can learn from different people, different culture, different foods. It's different. It's amazing. So
She's back.
Accra is not just Ghana. Ghana is bigger than Accra. So if you do get a chance, you should take it.
Sis, so we were just talking about this earlier about one of Ghana's very interesting things is the internet connection. So we lost you a little bit, and then you came back in, and we only heard like a little bit about what you said about visiting Accra. So where I lost you was when you were talking about the food, and then you went off, and then you came back, and you're like, we should visit Accra. We should visit outside of Accra. So I don't know if you wanna repeat what you said in the last end there for us.
I think I said that, I can't remember what I said now, but I think I said, if you get a chance to work outside Accra, you should, because you get to learn different cultures, different food, different lifestyle, and sometimes it's good because you get to rest and de-stress when you go outside Accra as well, and pick up certain things that you wouldn't necessarily pick up in Accra. I think that's what I said.
I think that's what you said too, because that's exactly how you ended it. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. This has been so much fun, and we have a couple more questions. So for our lovely audience, we are taking questions. So if you have questions, please drop it in the comment section, and we will be sure to, have our lovely panelists answer that for you. So we have talked about the good, we have talked about the bad. And now I want us to talk about the challenges. Again, this is such a transparent and open conversation. So for some of you, you are working within corporate. So for Hilda, for example, and then some of you are entrepreneurs. So I love this really amazing blend of folks that we have. So what for you, and you can share this in the context of your work, or you can share this in the context of your entrepreneurial journey, but what has been the most difficult part of being a business owner or an employee in Ghana that you would advise our viewers to be mindful of? So in a way, this is you sharing your challenges and then also sharing your lessons that you have picked up along the way. And then for you, Tim, I would actually also be very interested in hearing what the challenges were for you being in the education system here in Ghana, as well as owning your businesses as well. So for folks that would want to come to Ghana to further their education, what that experience was like for you. So we're going to start with Yasmin, and then we're going to go up the screen.
Okay, so I would say my biggest challenge has been time. I struggle with how people, take time seriously. And that's one thing that compared to the Western world, when people give you a time, you try to make sure you're there before or right on time. And where in my industry, in the cleaning industry, you need to get to a place on time to clean. And sometimes I've been there And maybe, for example, the security man or maybe an employee that's meant to let me in will just delay you. And they don't realize that you're working with time. You need to get this job done today because you booked at a time. Here is something that I'm still struggling with, because I feel like people feel like, oh, they can just roll up anytime. You give them 9, they come at 11, it's fine. They don't realize that other people have booked you, and you need to make sure you're delivering. You can't tell them that other person delayed you. And that's one thing that I feel like people in Ghana don't really value time. So that's one thing that I struggle with, even with my workers. I try to tell them, when someone tells you to be somewhere at 7, try and be there by 7:15. But a lot of people just struggle with the time. So that's my main struggle, I would say. And then the other thing is people, working with people, because we all have different work ethics. I would say that I'm lucky or privileged to have lived in the UK. So I've picked up on some ethics that I'm very proud of. And I feel like here, a lot of people have that kind of, I'll just get up and go attitude. They don't really care about what they're doing. So it's trying to get my people to understand that, when you're working, you have to be professional. You have to make sure you're delivering. You have to go above and beyond. I've got a very strong customer service, background. So letting people understand that you need to.
Oh, we lost her. Is she back? Technical difficulties, folks.
That's a challenge. Technical difficulties. That's a challenge.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sis. Yeah, we can hear you. Oh, did you wrap up? Oh, we lost her again. Okay, Joanna, over to you.
I kind of wanted to echo kind of what Yasmin is saying, and sort of to add to that, I think my experience so far has been a lack of attention to detail. So I find that good ideas, good planning, but probably not so good on the execution has been sort of my experience working here so far. And I also find that people say yes when they mean no, and it's, for me, I just don't understand it. I think it's when people don't want to say no because they don't want to disappoint you, when actually if they just say no, you kind of know where you stand, right? So that's been sort of a big deal for me, because I'm committed. When I sort of say yes, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. But here, my experience so far, it's kind of like yes kind of means maybe not. So yeah, those are kind of a couple of challenges that I've had thus far. And to echo the point about time, I think what I found myself doing now, which I'm kind of need to give myself a bit of a slap on the wrist, is that because of people's attitudes to time, I've kind of taken the kind of role of, well, I'm not going to get there at 8 o'clock because I know they're not going to get there at 8 o'clock. And actually, I've recently tried to reverse that and say, look, if we're saying 8, I'm going to get there at 8. And if it means I'm waiting for an hour, I'm waiting for an hour. But if we all kind of just act the way, if there's something that we don't like and we just end up sort of acting in the same way, it's never going to change. So I kind of started falling into the being late category just because that's what everyone else did. But now I'm trying to get back to sort of being on time, being punctual, and sort of being there when I'm meant to be.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, they're not gonna show up on time anyways, so I'm gonna just not. I feel you. Thank you so much for sharing and for being so honest to that. Tim.
It's a really great question that you posed, and outside of echoing what other people have said, I think for me, one of the major challenges has been really having the type of contextual lens to understand the culture. So maybe this is the education in me, but it's like, okay, for example, when I first started coming to Ghana and I was working with individuals I would hire, I'm like, okay, yo, boss, you have to be on time. Okay, we're here at 8 o'clock. The guy will show up at 9. But because when I moved here, I was integrated into a system where I'm also taking Trotro every day to school. And I have to be at school by this time, so I have to leave 2 hours ahead of time because I didn't have a car when I moved. I still don't have a car. I don't want to actually own a car unless I have a driver, but that's a whole nother conversation because why would I have an expensive car to get tore up? But anyway, but once I was taking the Trotro, which is like, for those watching, it's like, let's say a city bus for lack of a better phrase. And I'm sitting there on that bus and the engine goes out. And I'm like, okay, I just have to wait. So what happened was it enabled me to realize, okay, like I may be working with someone. This is not all situations, okay, but I may be working with someone. And I've had this happen where they will leave their house at 5 a.m. to be on time to meet me at 8. But between 5 and 8, the Trotro broke down. The mate, which is the guy that's collecting money, was having an argument with somebody and blah, 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 blah. And so it was difficult, but for me, I'm still learning how to like really lead people when I am coming as a foreigner into a culture that exists. And the thing that's challenging for me is like, I'm looking around and I'm seeing amazing hotels, amazing shopping plazas and stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, you have been successful here. You have food chains, you have restaurant chains, and some of you don't look like me, but yet you have come here, established a very nice, whatever portfolio of business. So what have you done that's different than me? So for me, it's like, okay, let me learn what motivates you, as a Ghanaian, so that I can really humble myself to lead you better. So I think that has been the biggest challenge. And even recognizing my own kind of like superhero complex of coming in and, like subconsciously wanting to bring you up to a certain standard because this is how it should be done to be effective. And I told someone today that I said, listen, Charlie, the system will humble you when you have to go and get things done. And you think, oh, I'm just going to do this. Hey, Massa, you don't know someone and you want to do something in Ghana. Listen, the system will humble you very, very quickly. So I think learning how to be integrated into that system, where for me it was so foreign, because in the States, you live in such an individualistic society because you don't need people to go and turn on your lights or turn on your water or register a business. You don't need to know someone to do those things. But in Ghana, go and register your business without knowing anyone. And come and tell me the story. So it's just like, just like learning that system has been so challenging. But once you learn it, it's like, shoot, you can move freely and do whatever you need to do once you learn it. But learning it, I think, is the challenging part.
Yeah, wow. No, that was so deep on so many levels. That was so deep on so many levels. And one thing that I think is going to stick with all of us is the system will humble you, and just being able to navigate that system, right? Because I think Joanna mentioned this earlier, is that like we have a system that is non-existent within a system. So there's always like new ways for you to learn things. There's always new ways for you to navigate. So thank you so much for being transparent about that. Welcome back, Yasmin. Hilda, over to you.
Yeah, so I think one of my challenges is lack of proactive thinking. People always have to fail and say sorry, rather than just planning ahead and planning against all the repercussions, all the possibilities. And so I'm always just sort of like, why does it have to fail for you to say I'm sorry? And so, I'm always having to think ahead and say, listen, in order to prevent this, can we just plan or just, so I'm always very, very antsy, and I'm very picky, and I'm always on top of people. I come from a training background, so I'm an ambassador of service, right? And I love good service. When I go somewhere and I feel that, I praise the person. I'll call the manager over and say, listen, well done to this person. I commend this person, because it's so rare sometimes. And because I'm an ambassador of service, you'll see me trying to train people as I go about my day. And I realize that I can't save Ghana, I can't train and save everybody. But the ones that I care about, the ones that I see value in, I will set them aside. I'll say, listen, this is how you have to get better. You have to think on this scale. You have to think better, right? Do better. Even with my employees, I do the hiring for the business, and I have vast training manuals that I write out myself, and I'm constantly going on and talking to them about how they can be better, not so much just for the business, but as individuals, as people. And so that work ethic that I've carried for so many years that has brought me this far, I tell them, like, listen, I'm giving you wings so you can fly, right? I don't want you to be in a box. I don't want you to be small-minded. I want you to see that Ghana has so much great right now when it comes to infrastructure, opportunity, jobs. And it's like, it pains me that people are the ones that are failing this big, realm of success. And so I'm almost like, if people just fix their acts when it comes to practical thinking, not failing before it's even done, that's more so my challenge, more or less. Yes. When it comes to time, I like Tim said, when it comes to leniency and understanding what Accra is, I have to understand that the people are coming to work, and there's a lot of traffic. It's intense out there, and so I do let my team understand that with communication, let me know that you're going to be late. So I try to create this, communication, this comfort of communication with a management culture. Let me know, right? So they understand that they have a responsibility and there's accountability, right? Not this just nonchalant strolling into work attitude. And obviously, if it becomes excessive, we have a write-up system, just like back home, right? I'm gonna write you up, right? And if you fail after a few times, we're gonna discuss your future here. So they understand there's preparation, proactive thinking, right? What to avoid. These are the attitudes I try to prepare my people for. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, those are really, really good points. And I think it really is in line with some of the things that Tim mentioned. And I see that in the comments as well. This, especially as diasporans, we're always conscious of the savior complex, right? So we're always very subconsciously, we're always thinking about it. So my question was going to, and I think, Hilda, you've done this so beautifully in terms of like having and creating those systems that allow for open communication. But one of the things that I want to know is that, like, how then do you find the balance, especially as, not only entrepreneurs, but then also as people that are managing business or in the corporate world? How do you find that balance between savior complex and instilling, some of the things that Hilda talked about in terms of proactive thinking, right? So how do you find, and I'm not saying that you kind of like have that savior complex, but a lot of times, with folks that we get the opportunity to work with, when they see you, they know that you're not from here. So already there is, there's already a mentality, or there's already a preconceived notion that they might have, and even in the way that they interact with you. So as someone that has moved, has started businesses or working within the corporate structure, how are you able to find that balance of correcting without having someone else thinking that you have the savior complex, or you feel like, oh, because you're from abroad, you have it all figured out, or you have all the answers? I'm actually very curious as to know how you all navigate that. Joanna, I would like to start with you.
It's a really good question, and it's something that sort of happened recently with me. So in order to deliver some of my services, I partner with a digital agency consultancy here. And we have been doing some digital marketing activity for a client, and we had to write a write-up. And one of my my partners sort of put a report together. And I looked at it, and it was just numbers. And I sort of said, well, where's the written commentary? Where's the summary? Where's the recommendations? And then we sat down for about 3 hours and literally redid the whole report. And I had this reputation of being a stickler when it comes to attention to detail. I'll notice every typo. I'll notice everything. But I look at that as my superpower. And actually, my partners have really kind of warmed to that quality in me, because they saw the feedback from the client, who absolutely loved the report. Said it was so comprehensive, etc. And so because they've seen the results of what came back from that, they get it now. So yeah, I also feel that because they're locals and I'm from the diaspora, I believe it's a sort of match made in heaven. There are things that they bring to the table that I don't. I know that when we go to meetings, there are some people that kind of think, well, do you live here? Do you live in the UK? How much are you going to be here? And actually, people like to sort of see each other in meetings face to face. And so having my sort of local partners actually kind of solidifies, I suppose, my presence here, but also my knowledge of the local market. Because, whilst digital marketing is a field that you could say, can be transferred in any country, you're, at the end of the day, you're dealing with customers, and customers vary a lot depending on, country, location, and even, within sort of individual towns. So I think, luckily, I kind of think that if I'm talking from a business context, my partners understand the value that I bring, and I also understand the value that they bring. And I think knowing that, I don't kind of have that kind of savior complex. Sort of, I know what I bring and I know what they bring.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And that's a really, really good insight as well. And that savior complex is something that is, it's the big elephant in the room that we always have to talk about, although we might want to avoid. So definitely. Tim, over to you.
I'll say I'm still managing it, to be honest. I mean, it's subconscious and it creeps up, and at best I can just interrupt it, but it's there. So, I'm sure you ladies can give me some tips after the call of how to eradicate it, because I need it. But it comes. But for me, it comes more so in the form of like culturally. Because my background is education. So when I come to Ghana and I see certain things that remind me of the racist system that I come from, I'm just like, don't y'all get it? This is signs of oppression. And, and I want to go into this rant about how this is linked to colonization and the negative impacts of the missionary movement and colonization, blah, 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 blah. And the average Ghanaian is like, whoa, massa, we don't care. So, but it comes. But I would say that as it relates to employees, my organization is pretty small. We have off and on about 5 employees. The main things I've learned is just in having good people is hire slow, train well, and fire quickly. Hire slow, train well, and fire quickly. I'll take people through 3 informal interviews before I hire a person. I'll tell a person, okay, I'm interested. This is what I'm interested in you. You have some skills, blah, blah, blah. Meet me at this place. Let's have an informal chat. And I'm just interviewing you informally. Will you show up on time? Will you do these things? I'll do it again. Then I'll do it again. And then when I say, okay, this person can be consistent, then I'll say, okay, hey, here's what we need to do. Everyone may not have that luxury, depending on what kind of business you have. Obviously, if you're working for maybe an organization that, you have a specific deadline. But as an entrepreneur, finding people to work with as a contractor, what may have you. And I try to train people and let them know, here are the expectations. The bottom line is not money, but the bottom line is, if we don't get these things met, I don't get paid, you don't get paid. So let's work together. And then when you see things that happen, like I've had people steal from me because they assume, this guy has money, so he won't miss this 1 CD. Okay. Then it goes to 5 CDs and 50 CDs. So I wanted to be like, oh, but the person is poor, it's just 1 CD. No. What I realize now is when you take 1 CD, you're terminated. It's a wrap. So I try to hire slow, train well, and fire people quickly. When they have those outright, things like that, but it still comes up. The savior complex is there. So please, ladies, help me. Help me, please.
Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for being transparent. And I can definitely, I see, I understand why, like, you know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things, like, we're all kind of like shaking our heads because we know we've come to understand the systems of Ghana. And I think our next question really would be perfect to answer some of that as well. Hilda, sis, you're on mute.
Oh, okay, here we go. I thought it's automatic. Sorry. So, I mean, I think that the term savor complexity, I think us coming here, clearly we saw potential in Ghana. And so saying a nation needs to be saved is contradicting ourselves in the sense of there's clearly so much good here. And so just like anywhere else, finding the potential in someone and trying to get the best out of that person is so important, right? I think what I try to do with my employees is I try to do cultural relatability for them to understand. Somebody asked here, EFW asked, how do you combat the infamous relaxed Ghanaian work ethic? So when I speak to my employees, because I know the culture, I am Ghanaian, I give them comparisons to home and the business, right? So for example, one of my associates walked out the store and didn't let me know where he was going. And I said to him, if you're at home with your mother, and you just left the house without telling your mom, I'm stepping out for a minute, how would that seem? And it clicks to him, right? If I say to him, listen, like if, for example, one of my other associates didn't take a message properly, and it was just miscommunication. I didn't have a name. I didn't know who came looking for me. And I said, same thing, if you're at home with your mom and someone knocks her door and says, hi, I'm looking for so-and-so, and you didn't take a name, didn't take a message, your mom will come back home from the market and say, what? Who was that, right? And so when I try to give them that sort of day-to-day, everyday life comparisons to the workplace, it clicks, right? Try to get down to the level and make them understand that, listen, this is your home. You come here 5-6 days a week, however many days a week. This is your home, right? Communications, like I need you to be on top of it. It's so important, right? I think when it comes to the whole, like I said, savior complexity, I think toss it out the window because I don't want to say it's ignorant, but when in Rome, do what the Romans do, right? Step down, understand how they think. I think our challenges are people from the foreign world. We think we know it all. And you have to understand how the Ghanaian thinks and how they operate here. And once you're able to establish that, you can go to many high places, right? Because even them, they don't seem to take on well to that, this foreign person or trying to home. Who does she think she is? In Tree, that means she's doing too much. Who does she think she is? And that can be in any circumstance. If someone comes and tells you how to do things, it's almost like, whoa. Do you know how I think or how I handle it? So try to get down to the level and really you will see the best out of them. Yes.
Yes, take us to church. That was so insightful. That was actually very, very insightful. And I love, that again, I think it comes down to that relatability, right? How are you relating to the folks that you're working with, as well as like even just understanding, things from a cultural perspective. So thank you so much for that insight. Yasmin, what about you?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. I think I went off.
Oh, welcome back. So the
Sorry.
question was more around, no, we understand. The question was more around how you are able to find balance between this idea of saviors complex and also, having employees. So like how you're able to really like relate to them and how you're able to balance that, right? And also just with the way that Ghanaians are set to have this very relaxed work vibe, how you're able to combat that as a business owner or as an entrepreneur.
Okay, sure. So for me, I think communication is key. Whether you're the employer or the employee, there has to be great communication between you and your employees. That way, if there's any problem, they feel comfortable to talk to you about it. And for me, I think I heard Hilda saying something about, like, you shouldn't come in. I feel like you shouldn't come here with the whole thing of, I'm from London or I'm from wherever and I know everything. for me personally, I learn a lot from my employees as well. There's certain things that I don't know, but I feel if you allow yourself and you let you bring yourself I don't necessarily bring yourself down, but you bring yourself to a certain level and you're on the same level with people, you can relate to them, you can understand them. Sometimes certain problems that we may identify, they may not necessarily identify the same problem. They might see something else that you may not see. But if you relate to people on a certain level, they're able to bring issues to you. You shouldn't always come in with the I know it all attitude, because no one knows it all. And in as much as we may be privileged to have certain work ethics or certain amounts of exposure, they also know certain things that we don't know. So for me, I always work with my employees such that I'm learning from them. I'm always asking questions, and then if there's something that I don't like, I kind of have a conversation. Why is this happening? How can we move forward from this? Because I believe that whether it's your business or not, you're working with people, and sometimes they may be actually very passionate, but they don't know how to channel their passion. So if you speak to people, you get to know what the problem is, then you're able to resolve issues and then work in a better environment. Don't know if I really answer your question.
Oh, you hit the nail right on the head there. Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you all for being so transparent. So some of the comments, and I think this is one that is very, very amazing to mention before we get to Angela's question. And she said, the savior complex is not a complex. It can be education, so long as it's delivered respectfully. And I think it goes back to what Hilda was saying, is that finding that common ground, and Yasmin also mentioned that, is creating a space that allows for open communication, right? So thank you so very much for sharing that. Before we move on to our next question, I want to give our listeners and our viewers a little bit of an insight about Goobers Career Internship Program. So if you are in the diaspora and you are looking for opportunities to relocate or to test the waters, this is the perfect thing for you. So Goobers Career Internship Program is an initiative to give individuals in the diaspora an opportunity to experience the employment market and workforce in Ghana. Inspiration for this initiative came from the feedback provided by the attendees of the previous Diaspora Transition event, and many of the attendants, really expressed their desire to get a taste of Ghana prior to relocation. So if this is you and you're interested in testing the waters and, as we say, dipping a little bit of your pinky into the Guinean work market, then this is the perfect opportunity for you. Make sure to visit the link on your screens right now to sign up for it. So the duration of the internship can be anywhere from 2 weeks all the way up to a year. And trust me, once you are in Ghana for up to a year, you will not want to go back. So definitely take advantage of this opportunity and get that experience that you need. So we're going to move back to questions. So we're almost at the end of our amazing conversation. And this is, again, this has been so amazing and it has been so insightful. So out of all of our amazing panelists, I am like in between transitions. As a result of the pandemic, I've been in Ghana for about 6 months now, the longest that I've been here since I moved to Canada. So this is all so amazing for me. And this is actually like all of the things that, I've been hearing as well. So I'm so happy to get the opportunity to speak to you folks about your experience. So Angela wants to know, and if we could keep these answers really short, that would be amazing so that we can get through the other ones before the end of the night. So it says that, what are the things you wish you knew before relocating to Ghana? So things that could have helped you better prepare for your relocation. This is a question that I want to know as well. So we're going to start with Tim, and then we're going to go zigzag. So Tim, over to you.
I'll make mine very quick. Because actually I did a video, so I have a YouTube series. I did a video on this very topic, things I wish I knew before I moved to Ghana and what my advice would be. And I mean, it's probably stuff that everyone else will say, but I think one of the things I'll say this, the thing I wish I did, not necessarily what I knew, but what I wish I did was moved here for like 3 months to really get like logistics settled, my residency permit, this, that, get a bank account, get all these things. I wish I would have done that. Because when I moved here, trying to do all that, plus going to school full time and working, it was a lot. So for the full version, you can definitely check out the YouTube. So I'll keep it simple so the other ladies can answer.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So now y'all know that that GUBA Careers Internship Program is that sure way in. I just had to do a little plug in there. And please make sure that you check out Tim's YouTube channel as well. Maybe you can put the link in the comments so that folks can check it out after. Joanna, what about you?
What do I wish I knew? I think one of the challenges that I've identified in the short time I've been here is me not having a car. I know sort of Tim said that he hasn't got a car and probably doesn't want to drive, but I thought because Uber exists and Bolt exists, that traveling around would be relatively easy. But actually, I feel like you need a car just to kind of move around quite easily, sort of go to the market, go to the shops, etc. And just having the opportunity to just jump in a car and go when you need to, rather than having to hang around and waiting for an Uber. And you know, those sort of 5 city trips, 20 city trips, they seem small, but they add up. So yeah, I think for me, I probably would have prioritized having a car sooner. So it is something that I am still considering, but it probably won't happen until later on in the year.
Awesome. Thank you so very much for sharing. Yes, the transportation. Listen, those, like I said, Accra is not cheap. So those 5 cities, 20 cities, 30 cities. And when there's a spike, you know, it's like 36 cities, 50 cities. And you're just like, if you sit in traffic for way too long, your bill is gonna come. It's like, oh, 50 seats. I'm like, but I got quoted 20 cities though, Sarah. So how did that happen? Listen, I feel you on that one. Hilda.
This is happening again. Yeah, so I'll touch on a few things that they've actually said just to reaffirm. Definitely getting your paperwork ready when you come to Ghana. I think people, because Ghana isn't a red tape nation, people automatically assume that they don't need to follow protocol and system, but actually they are on top of their A game here when it comes to paperwork and documentation. And so I think in order to get things done easier, getting your documentation right, your paperwork, your IDs right, because then you do have more leverage and you do have more I guess, opportunity to get things done. I had to learn how to drive in Ghana. So me being a big city girl, I lived downtown Toronto, I lived in the heart of London. I never cared to drive in my entire life. I said before I turn 30, I'm going to learn how to drive. 10 months of taking Uber and Bolt, Ghana butchered me. It was very expensive. I was spending almost $200 more or less on transportation, which obviously in a public transportation back home, you spend $100 and something bucks, right? So I had to learn how to drive really quickly. I did that here, and I'm a driver for like 5 months. I'm a roundabout queen. The roundabout queen. So that's a big one. And I think the finances, like I said, Ghana is expensive. Prepare financially and make sure you are on top of, you know, your first and last, how to get property here. Do your research. Look at, you know, the real estate industry as well. I'm fortunate that I love to live at home, but I do know friends who move here and they're like, when they look for apartments or they're on a hunt, they're always like, wow, like I should be prepared. Yeah, so yeah. Oh, and one more thing. Tailor your Accra. It's not all about enjoyment here. It's not all about fun. Try to build routine. Build routine. You know, if it comes down to doing yoga after work, or if it's, you know, just going for dinner only on Fridays or only on Saturdays, people come here for enjoyment and they think, oh, great, Ghana is so fun. I can do all this every single time. But just like any other city, when you finish work, you go home, you go to the gym, you prepare your lunch, you iron your clothes for the next day. Try to have that factored in your mind. I mean, networking is great, but try to have a normalcy of routine.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, Taylor. You're Accra. And listen, girl, I don't know how you do it, but driving in Ghana just gives me a different level of anxiety, to be quite
No,
like, I'm
I'm
telling
sure.
you, like when I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. So
No,
kudos
no,
to you,
it's
girl.
because I think because I learned here, it made my perception is this is the way it is. So
Okay.
I'm a G on the road. If I learned back home where it's regulated and you can trust your fellow driver, everyone's organized on the road, I'd probably be terrified. But if I know Sammy's gonna cross me, I know Sammy's gonna cross me.
Wow, like it just like even being in the passenger seat just gives me like a different level of no, seriously, no, Tim, you're laughing, but like literally people are driving me and I'm like, yo, boss, please, I beg, I want to arrive. Like, slow down. Okay?
It's only
So kudos to you, girl. Kudos to you because I don't know if I can do it. And Joanna, I mean, more grease to your elbows as you navigate this new. I think Tim and I are the same on this one. We're gonna be Team Uber and Bolt. It's hard out here. What about you, Yasmin? Oh, did we lose her? Oh, you're here. Okay, go ahead.
So
Oh, I think we
okay,
lost.
so
I think. Oh,
what I wish I knew. Can you hear me?
we can hear you now.
My connection has been terrible. Oh, great. So what I wish I knew before I moved was how expensive Ghana is. I think before, when you come on holiday, you have a budget of what you want to spend. So you don't realize how expensive it is to live here. So having moved down and living here now, I realize that's quite expensive. So you just have to know, what to spend on, how you need to kind of budget and, make sure that you're not just blowing money because you're not on holiday anymore, you actually live here. So I think that was what I didn't actually, pay attention to in terms of, cost of living and, food and little things. Internet's very expensive, little things like that. So it's just, I didn't prepare myself for that. But I think eventually, once you're in, you kind of, find a way around it. But that's one thing I wish I knew, how expensive it is to live here.
Yes, please tell them how expensive it is to live in Accra. So this is the thing that I always like to share is that it is expensive to live in Accra. Like Accra specifically is a different ball game. So thank you so much for sharing that. Oh, someone is. Oh, okay, gotcha. So we have a question on board from Destination Africa Group TV. Great show, guys. Wash your hands. Thank you so much. We'll make sure of that. A question: how has the cultural and language barriers, and how do they affect your migration to Ghana? So I'll give this question to Joanna and Tim. If you can share quickly a little bit about what that experience has been for you in terms of like the cultural and the language barrier, and was that a factor when you were deciding to move to Ghana? Joanna?
It's a really good question because there have been a couple of examples of things that have happened here where I found myself completely disagreeing with my colleagues or people I know, locals. And without getting into too much detail, there was this, you might have known, there was this lady, I can't remember her name, but she took a picture with her son naked, and then she was jailed for 90 days, I believe. And there was a bit of an uproar about it, but I was having the conversation about that with sort of some locals, and it was just really interesting to see how different my perspective on the situation was from them. And I think it shocked me, if I'm honest, because in the UK we're quite liberal. You could argue too liberal in a variety of ways, and I think that's been a culture shock for me to come to a country which is massively religious, massively traditional in a lot of ways. But I don't necessarily look at some of those things as negatives. I think I think we could definitely be a bit more traditional in the West. And so I'm mindful of the difference in culture, and I never try to impose my beliefs on anyone else. But I want to understand, and I want to learn, and I want to see other people's perspective. So I make sure that I'm very open to having sort of those discussions. I suppose language-wise, I'm trying. I like languages. I studied Spanish at university, so I have an aptitude for languages. I think it's so important to learn the language of the country that you live in. I'm not doing very well. I am considering sort of doing some lessons in Tree. But yeah, I don't think the cultural sort of language barrier wasn't a thing for me. Yeah, I'm here to learn it as much as possible. And I think it can only make me a more fuller person.
Thank you so much for sharing. Tim.
Yeah, I don't speak the language, or minty tree. I don't know at all. So, you know, it's not been a significant hindrance, I'll say, but I think it disables me from engaging in certain cultural exchanges, because language is like the connecting terminal to culture. So for example, even as a Black American, if I want to say something like, yo, that's what's up, like that's really what's up, that has a certain meaning when I'm around other Black folks who get that language versus that's what's up. So I think being able to really express myself in such a way in Ghana, it was challenging because I'm the one with the accent. And I'm hard to understand because of my English accent. But on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like very problematic, 1 being like nothing, I'll say it's like 3. So it's not so difficult that it's a hindrance. But I think it just kind of disables you for me, it disables me sometimes from really like engaging in a conversation where I can really be in it with someone, because I don't know, certain things. So, but it's not like a big deal. But I'm trying to learn, actually. It's actually on one of my goals list, because I want my son to speak Tree. I also want to speak Tree. And so it's actually something that we so hey, if y'all know some good Tree teachers, like real educators who know how to teach, not just someone who will give me a word and say, oh, repeat me. Let me know.
Well,
let me know.
Funny enough, there is a plug right on the screen. Check out Club. Oh, where did it go? Check out Club 1957 for GA and Tree classes as well. Okay. And I think someone else also. Oh, okay. No, sorry. Person said loving the show and then elbow cough. So check out Club 1957 for GA and Tree classes. We'll make sure that we share more resources as it becomes available. So this question is for you, Hilda, and it is: would you recommend networking while on holiday if you are planning to move back?
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Definitely. Like I said, I've been coming to Ghana since 2015, and every year I came to Ghana, I made sure I have one element of work or networking. And I mean, as you're out and about and you're in these get-togethers, parties, events, whatever you're doing while you're on holidays, it's Ghanaians as people, or people who are here in Accra especially, are so easy to speak to. Very open, very engaging. It's so easy to ask what you're doing, what you're up to when you're here, and exchanging that business card, exchanging that contact. I don't think it's a place to be intimidated when it comes to networking. And people are often so receptive. They'll say, swing by on Monday, swing by on Tuesday, let's talk about it further. They're just intrigued for the fact that you're even coming from elsewhere. They want to talk to you more than you want to talk to them more time. So I think if you're here and you're here for 2 weeks, yeah, it's all fun and games, but that's your chance. It's your chance to shine and stay connected. And so when you come on a next trip, you already built your network. They already know who you are. You probably already follow each other on social media. They can see what you're up to. They can see all your relations overseas. And so they can even pass you opportunity, and it can be seamless. Hope I
Yeah.
answered.
No, that definitely answers the question. I think that's also something that, like, for me personally was also really amazing, is that, like, as you are in these parties or you're in these environments, you never know, your next hire might come from there, your next client might come from there. So not being afraid to put yourself out there. So we are nearing the very end of this lovely conversation. I wish we could do this in person and forever, but we know that unfortunately we cannot. So before we let you all go, I don't think this is something that we went deeper into, but it would be great if each and every one of you can give us a little bit. So this is going to be very, very short. Y'all can still hear me. It's going to be very, very short, but give us a little bit of insights as to what exactly you do in Ghana. So tell us, this is an opportunity to plug your businesses, what you do, what you offer, your work, what you do, what you offer, and where people can find you. And then we're going to end with the final question, which I believe might have your mouths wide open. That's what I would like to think. So we'll start with you, Yasmin.
So, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We're losing Yasmin. So you're breaking up. So virtually we cannot hear you. It's like just it's going in and out. We still can't hear you. Wow. 2021. Anything 2021. This is all we're going to remember in 2020 and 2021. Joanna, over to you.
Hi, so I'm a digital marketing and e-commerce consultant, and my business is Dimax. I partner with a Ghanaian organization called Leadmonger, and quite simply, we create digital strategies that connect to your customers. So largely focusing on tech startups, but whether you're in retail, FMCG, and you want to better leverage digital communications to reach your customers, I can help. That's in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you so very much for sharing that. Hilda? Sis, you're mute.
That, guys, it's the last time I'm going to do that. It's the last time, I promise. Okay, so I'm Hilda Boitang. I'm the managing director of Versace Collections Ghana, which is the only standalone luxury store in West Africa. I am affiliated with Z2 Retail, which is also affiliated with Kempinski Hotel. I wear every single hat down the hierarchy of retail, from finances, hiring, training, visual merchandise, stock buy, every single thing. I think for people who have a retail background or a service background, feel free to contact me at Versace Ghana. I also do trainings here in Ghana as well, regarding service, of course, and customer relatability. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to contact me. I'm here at Kempinski. You can just stop by and say hello. I'm very nice. And yeah, that should be it.
Awesome. Thank you so very much for sharing that. And for those of you that didn't realize, she is in the store right now. So I'm just like peeking. I'm like, ooh. Thank you so much. Tim is like, yeah, ooh, what's that? Over to you, Tim.
So I have a nonprofit or NGO organization, and we mobilize people of African descent to Ghana. And I also do leadership development. And yep, that's the link right there, any.soul360.com. So I do also leadership development workshops and seminars here in Ghana. And I have started documenting my experiences in Ghana via my YouTube channel. Just simply Tim Swain on YouTube. And I would really love to capture some of you all's stories at another time on the channel to really help inspire, educate, and empower people. So yeah, that's a brief of what I do.
Amazing, amazing. That is so awesome. You are all doing some really amazing thing. I think we have, yes, Yasmin is back. So Yasmin, please tell us what you do in Ghana and a little bit of information, how people can contact you and your business.
Hopefully it's better now. You can hear me.
We can hear you. There's a bit of a lag, but we can hear you.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I have a cleaning company, and it's called Cleaners Ghana Limited, and we clean both residential and commercial spaces. So if you're looking to come to Ghana and start something up in terms of registration, you don't know where to start from, feel free to contact me on Instagram. It's Cleanitch, and that's KLEENITGH, and I'll be more than willing to help you. In case you want to ask any questions about how to start a cleaning company or anything in general, anything business, your go-to person. I also do provide customer service training to small and medium scale businesses. So in case you need any type of service like that, I'm your go-to. Again, you can contact me on Cleanitch, and I'll be willing to help. Or you can also DM me directly on my personal Instagram, and that's Efrifa, and then I'll answer all your questions.
Amazing. Thank you so very much. So for those of you that didn't hear all the details, make sure that you're following Yasmin at Cleanitch. She does customer service training as well as she has a cleaning service. So make sure that you hit her up if you have any questions or you want to use any of her services. So it has been such an amazing time having this conversation with you folks and really learning from you as well. And I think something that we didn't talk about, which is actually very funny, is that you all have side hustles aside from your actual hustle subconsciously. Because when I ask you all to share what you do, like, yeah, and I'm this, and I'm like, yo, Ghana will do that to you. And I love it. I love, 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 love it. So before I end with my final question, folks, for those of you that are listening, this event, the Diaspora Transition, was brought to you by GUBA Careers. Make sure that you're following us on all social media platforms. So GUBA Careers seeks to bridge the career and lifestyle gap between members of the diaspora, Ghana, and Africa as a whole by bringing together resource people from several disciplines to share their stories. GUBA Careers also gives individuals who are interested in relocating to Africa the platform to identify how they can transition smoothly back home to impact and be impacted by this great developing nation. And I think this is something that we talked about earlier, and this is a lesson that all of our panelists shared, which is maybe sometimes, you want to make the move, but you're not so sure. It is important for you to dip your toe in there a little bit. And that is where GUBA Courier's internship program comes into play. And this is an initiative that gives people in the diaspora an opportunity to experience the employment market and workforce in Ghana. Internships are typically from 2 weeks all the way up to a year. You get to choose that. But this is an initiative that was born as a result of all of you lovely folks that were requesting for that, little dip in the toe. I've been your host. My name is Aisha Addo, and I am so happy to, have gotten the opportunity to interview all of you amazing folks. You can follow me on social media at Aisha Afua, which is AISHA AFUA. I am right now, I'm literally in transit, this is like the transition. Our lovely panelists have transitioned. I'm like in transit between Ghana and Canada. And I get the lovely opportunity to actually run an NGO that works with young Black girls, both here in Ghana and in Canada, and also have the opportunity of creating tech solutions for social good. So this is like, yeah, I know Joanna's like, ooh, yeah, girl, we're going to link up, and Tim, we're going to link up. Listen, I'm going to link up. I'm just going to show up to Versace and I'm like, I have that $1 million meeting today. So hook me up. Yeah, we're speaking it into existence. But this is my final question to you folks. If you could do it all over again, would you do it? Or would you do something differently? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. You said it earlier, and I've been told the same thing. Once you live in Ghana for more than a year, you potentially want to stay longer and longer. I think Ghana as a whole is a great place, even just to come for 6 months to a year, if it's quarterly and you go back home. But just building a plan around Ghana is amazing. Even if you decide to live elsewhere and have businesses running within the country, there's always an options for that. So that should be it for me. But like I said, I was in the audience at the second edition for GUBA Careers in London. That was 2 years ago. And here I am today seating. And so I hope that this is inspirational for whoever's watching right now, that one day you take this seat. So take the big leap. Don't be fearful. Don't overthink it. It's a place where you definitely can settle, and you'll be just fine.
Amazing. Thank you so very much, Hilda. It's been such a pleasure having this conversation with you. Thank you so much. Tim, if you could do this all over again, would you, or would you do something differently?
Moving to Ghana by far has been one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I'm not exaggerating. There is no place right now I'd rather be than in my house in Ghana, waking up to no snow. Hey, no snow. And absolutely. So I just encourage people to, why not? Especially if you're young, you're single, you don't have kids. Oh, come. So thank you all so much for putting this wonderful presentation on. It's so informative, so impactful, and I'm so grateful for the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you so very much for sharing and for being so transparent. And I must say, you have the Ghanaian accent down pat. So you're fitted in, like, right in there. This is amazing. Thank you so very much, Tim, for being so transparent and honest with us. And I'll definitely love to connect with you. So I'll hit you up after as well to see some collabos. Amazing. Thank you so much, Tim. So over to you, Miss Yasmin. If you could do it all over again, would you do it? Or would you do something differently? I think she's frozen. No. So Miss Yasmin seems to be frozen right now. So we're gonna move on over to Miss Joanna. If you could do it all over again, would you, or would you do something differently?
One word answer, yes. I think, I'm very early in the journey. I always like to say this. So, because sometimes when you're starting something new, you kind of romanticize it a bit. But even on the not so good days, I still don't regret the decision. I would say to people to do as much research as possible, visit. There are a lot of good organizations that can support you. Plug for Ghanaian Londoners who hold annual trade missions where you can come and get to meet all the different government institutions and really understand what it's like to live and do business here. So really sort of do your research. But yeah, I think it's an exciting time. And I think particularly in my industry of digital and technology, last week, Twitter announced sort of opening the African headquarters in Ghana. So particularly in sort of the digital and tech space, there's a lot happening here and in many countries in the continent. So yeah, and I think Hilda said it earlier, like anything, if it doesn't work, you can just go back. Nothing is finite. Nothing is, life is a journey, and it's, we don't ever have to be any one place all the time. And I think my traveling helps me really realize that. But yeah, if I could do it all over again, I would.
awesome. Thank you so very much, Joanna, for sharing your journey with us and for being so transparent. Really appreciate that. There you have it, folks. This has been such an amazing time. And I think we lost Miss Yasmin earlier on, but please make sure that you follow her on social media, Clean It GH. And like she mentioned earlier, she does amazing customer service trainings as well. So make sure that you follow her. Listen, y'all, I don't know about you, but I am ready to pack my Canadian bags. And I hope that this has given you all of the answers that you were thinking about as you think of your transition as well. As I mentioned earlier, this amazing experience has been brought to you by GUBA Careers, which is a platform and a bridge between diasporans and Africa. So if you are thinking of moving, make sure that you're following GUBA, GUBA Enterprise, GUBA Career, GUBA Foundation. Just put in GUBA and you are going to find all of our different brands and opportunities. Make sure that you're following us. For those of you that want to test out Ghana, please make sure that you sign up for the GUBA Careers Internship Program, which is an initiative to give individuals in the diaspora an opportunity to experience the employment market and workforce in Ghana. The duration of the internship programs normally range between 2 weeks to a year, and this will give you all of the experience that you need. Again, it's been real. I'm your host, Aisha Addo, and this has been such an amazing conversation. Until next time and until the next Diaspora Transition, I hope you stay true to yourself and make sure that you plan your Accra. All right, folks. Bye. Do I leave?